Microsoft has been long known to be a publisher and developer committed to creating classic co-op game formats across a wide range of genres. Despite a long history of back and forth between missteps and successes, including shutting down studios even after strong performances, it still seems determined to try to reclaim something that it used to do well. I commend it for what it's trying to do. There's been a noticeable lack of co-op split screen and meaningful multiplayer experiences for a while now, something that's only recently started to creep back into the gaming scene, even if it's still using a live service model more often than not. Co-op games have always been a struggle for me. I didn't always have somebody to play with, and when I did, crossplay and pairing up with inadequate gamers would always hold me back in every way, shape, and form, so I would always continue to drift into solo gameplay more. Though I'm sure you can understand how a game can become demoralizing when you're playing a co-op game solo. Towerborne leans hard into that grind-heavy loop that keeps you engaged for more daily gear farming, while chasing best-in-slot items either solo with random players or alongside friends, whether you're on PC or syncing into the seemingly forced Xbox crossplay, which is something that I'm dejected about, for a petty and biased reason that I will go into shortly. If you or your friends have been craving a co-op experience that is very basic but still fun, you might want to stick around and hear what this game has to offer for you. You might hear people say that this game does not support crossplay, but that's only because it wasn't available at launch. Since then, crossplay has been added, and while it's a welcome feature in theory, I personally have mixed feelings about how it's played out. So here comes the hot take where I tend to annoy people with my silly rants. When I review games, I focus on what makes them enjoyable to me, not what everybody else is saying, what keeps me coming back, and what I think others will enjoy too. And in that spirit, I'll just say it. I have had a rough time with most of the console players I've ever been matched with in a lot of games. This has nothing to do with PC being better or any of the usual frame rate or graphic debates. It's about coordination, or more specifically, the lack of it. In my own experience, I've noticed that many of the console players that I tend to get grouped up with show up ungeared, ignore stage goals and mechanics, and hold the entire team back. I'm not talking about people making honest mistakes or learning the game. I'm talking about players of equal or even higher level who seem to just waste everybody else's time during sessions that are meant to be quick and efficient farm runs. As somebody who plays a support-heavy role, usually being the dedicated reviver during boss ventures, it gets very frustrating. I might be playing with a friend and trying to keep everybody alive, while enemies get dragged into me and allies alike, while I'm attempting to revive our allies while in stealth. This spirals into a mess of long revive timers and stacked bodies, making it nearly impossible to manage, even with the abuse of stealth revive mechanics. Ever since crossplay was enabled, I've not seen other PC players in matchmaking. It's always Xbox players, and to be honest, the fact that I cannot disable crossplay on PC while Xbox players often can is a major source of the frustration. If a PC player would like to opt out of crossplay, there should be that option, but oftentimes this is only a feature that's available for console gamers. Very few games that offer crossplay allow PC players to opt out. Playing solo is still technically an option, and of course inviting your own friends, but it limits the loot potential and the enemy amounts in every one of the ventures, as there's no way to filter out matchmaking. So you either play alone for less loot, or deal with the others with a 50-50 chance of being coordinated, so it's a very hard choice to make. To be blatantly clear, I know not every console player is like this. I've grouped with some who are experienced, came prepared, chose solid builds, and played the objectives. But those players are the exception, not the rule. The number of unorganized groups still outweighs the good ones by a wide margin. In short, I would much rather not be paired up with console players, or at the very least, have more customization behind lobbies and restrictions to only allow players with a certain gear rating and of course a level to join your public lobbies and so on. Because if somebody ends up joining your lobby and you end up kicking them, they can still join back, you can't block them out completely. Which has happened a couple of times where they just would not leave, after having previously failed our runs. There's also a complete lack of communication with this game, when tackling specific ventures or content that require a particular playstyle or setup. Let's use the back hills as an example, as it's a very popular spot for farming. It's very easy to farm for legendaries here due to the large number of enemies that spawn, and the most efficient way to clear them is by having either all 4 players using Cloudburst Umbras or at least 2. This kind of a setup causes cascading knockback effects, massive AoE, and makes short work of all of the enemies. If you don't end up getting a group that does this, then you end up having to deal with the boss fight and all of the multiple adds that keep spawning endlessly. But in every case, unless you're playing with friends or competent players, most don't even bother to make use of their full arsenal, which can really drag things out. Farming for gear is a heavy grind, and making that grind 5 times longer is a great way to kill the mood for any future sessions. Setting up a public party is not difficult, but with the current state there is a very high chance that things will bug out. You might get kicked out of the party due to an error, or even have trouble recruiting others entirely. In those cases, restarting the game is the only fix. Though not frequent, there are moments when the game may crash for no reason whatsoever. It does not seem tied to any specific element, it just crashes when it decides to. I haven't experienced this during missions, but it has happened when leaving or while in the overworld. Fortunately, it does not seem to be a massive issue. Control-wise, the game does focus on having the characters always facing one direction, which can make it hard to target enemies accurately at times, because it does feel a little bit janky. It's tricky to explain, but the game uses varying layers of elevation for dodging, dealing damage, and moving through the arenas as you search for bosses and their treasures. And this is what leads to moments where it feels clunky. I was pleasantly surprised to see the depth of character customization. From the hairstyles and expressions to the variety of armor skins, there's a lot of room to create a character that feels unique to yourself. The accessibility is a plus too. Rather than being locked into a single isolated class, you have the freedom of switching between 4 available classes. I'm always exclusively drawn to rogues, so I haven't tried any of the others yet, though classes like the Pyro seem to be more popular. That said, there's a lot of build diversity if you pick up the right armor and weapon sets with the best in-slot traits. These can change how you play specific classes, though each one does seem to have a built-in skill focus. Rogues, for example, tend to center around stealth and poison, Pyro around burst and burn, and of course, warriors around bleed stacking. I don't know much about the Rockbreaker as not many people seem to play them. Navigating the menus is simple, though the dismantling station can be a bit of a nuisance. It takes some time to organize your materials for crafting, which can feel a bit cumbersome when you just want to get it over with. While the overall design of the game will eventually feel repetitive, listening to the same music after every battle, completing the similar tasks, moving from point A to point B, collecting rewards, and exiting, it's still a great way to pass the time. I don't think it's a game I'd recommend for long sessions, because you will burn out quickly. Though if you play it in short bursts of 30 to 40 minutes or so, it fits comfortably into the category of games that are perfect for mindless daily chores. The game of course offers microtransactions to skip some of the farming and to acquire cosmetics, but there's nothing inherently designed to milk you for better drops or loot, like you would often see with the decline of games like L-Sword and other classic side-scrolling grind MMOs. Speaking of equipment, Towerborne handles things a little bit differently. Instead of simply collecting a full set of legendary gear, the game encourages you to fine-tune your build based on what you actually want to get out of it. You are limited to equipping 3 pieces of legendary or 3 pieces of epic gear before you start losing out on the set effects, which then forces you to make more intentional choices. I would love to see this system evolve, maybe by allowing 2 or even a full 5-set bonus. As it stands, grinding for these sets is going to take quite a bit of time, and that's what will mostly compel you to continue. After 15 hours of farming specific ventures, I have yet to see a single legendary item drop during Tier 5 content. It feels like they're extremely rare and often require specific conditions to be met, like killing beehives for the bee's knees legendary or completing the main story. Despite being out for over a year, the game still has no Wikipedia coverage, which makes the grind feel more frustrating than it needs to be. I would love to have some built-in item tracking details. This would grant players with an understanding of what can be found in certain areas. There's a surprising amount of daily tasks and events to keep you engaged. The main focus of Towerborne is to level up each class to unlock better skills and effects, all while gearing them up individually for if you ever feel like you want to swap out for any of the higher ventures. While some missions are static, there are plenty of slight changes to ventures that keep them changing and unpredictable until you've seen every one of their layouts. Once your character is fully geared though, there isn't much in terms of endgame content aside from farming for monthly unlocks, premium rewards, and cosmetics, which does, yes, sound like it's more designed as a mobile game, but it does continue to add more challenging boss fights over time, which are worth tackling so long as you're not overly completely maxed out with all the hidden powers, materials, and upgrades. They do leave some room to offer you a challenge, but really it's meant to be a basic and casually fun grind to enjoy. Each character has a decent set of skills, but again, you're most likely going to be locked into a very specific playstyle with only minor variations in how you handle combat. So if you're expecting deep customization or flexibility, and you're like me and tend to stick to one class, you're not going to find that here. You're meant to hop between each class when you want something physically different. In its current early access state, there's not much else to dive into. You log in, enter a venture, complete it, and get rewarded. I do feel compelled to log in daily to complete the daily tasks, which provide about 2 hours of content to focus on and rewards to unlock. After that, you can continue working on more ventures for legendary equipment or grind for premium outfits through the writ farming, while helping out lower level players if you feel like it. When I take a moment to sit down and reflect on this game, the experience starts to feel overly linear, repetitive, and not particularly enjoyable after spending so much time farming for something that either had the wrong stats, wasn't part of the right set, or just took too long to drop. It's a great co-op experience, but the way that the item drops and rates accumulate over time needs to be clearer and more understandable, otherwise it ends up feeling like a huge waste of your time. If you and your friends have been looking for a new daily community-driven action RPG to mess around with for the next few weeks, then Towerborne offers more than enough content to keep you busy for now. While the future of the game is still a bit unclear, with a roadmap currently in development, what's already here is fun and engaging in a short time, if you enjoy playing with friends or even strangers. I hope that the game continues to grow, because having more accessible co-op games like this is something that I'd love to see more of. After 25 hours of gameplay, I did eventually hit a wall. This was due to the crossplay issues and the repetitive grind for best in slot gear, running the same levels over multiple times a day just for a slim chance at a legendary made it hard to stay motivated. I know some of the main story quests guarantee legendaries, but I'd rather earn them than get a free handout. That's what gives games like this real replay value. If you're thinking about playing this game solo, it might be worth waiting for a roadmap, because if this is all there is to it, then I don't think the game will have much longevity and will just become another published failure under the banner of Microsoft.